Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Shakti Awakener podcast. My name is Indra and I am your host. For those of you who are new here, beautiful ladies, welcome. I am a Tantra teacher and a mentor. And today I want to share from my wisdom around men, dating, and relationships that I think will be highly beneficial for you to understand specifically how to date and choose the man that is truly right for your frequency and a match to your embodiment. First of all, I want to tell you that all men that are coming into your life are a match to you on one level or another. Because I hear some women that are saying, oh, he's not on my level and blah, blah, blah. But darling, he came into your life because he has to teach you something and he is helping excavate some shadows inside of yourself, some wounds, some patterns of the inner princess inside of you that you need to see for you to get to the next level of your own embodiment. Because sometimes we think that relationships are about relationships and about another person, but it's actually mostly about us and our own evolution. And you get to decide how you want to evolve, if you want to accept what the other person is showing about you, or if you want to deny it and continue a cycle. I know very well how it feels like and what it is like to continue cycles in your love life and patterns, because I have struggled for the first part of my dating life, let's say before I got into Tantra. I was struggling with emotionally unavailable men and with the type of men that I think nowadays in this society it's so normal to run into, the type of men that don't really feel their power and the power of the feminine. And I want to say in the normal society, because nowadays I don't really meet this type of men. I meet men who are open to marriage, willing to provide for you, who are the protectors, who are the providers, who are the lovers, because I did the inner work to actually shift all of those patterns inside of myself that didn't feel worthy of this type of man. And now I get to meet them and to actually meet God in these different type of men that are coming into my life. But like I said, I feel you in your wounds if you are going through some toxic relationships or through patterns that you are done with and you are tired with. And for that, I also actually spoke more about in a short video on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out to see why you attract this type of emotionally unavailable men and how to shift that. Because today I want to go deeper a little bit into framework that helped me understand men on a very, very deep level. So hear me out, because this wisdom, you're not going to receive it from anybody else unless that person knows this framework that I'm talking about, the framework that I learned from a very famous and well spoken Tantra teacher. His name is David Deida, and I studied from him these 3 stages of the masculine for my own personal experience, but also for you, of course. But first for me, because ever since I was young, I really wanted to understand what is happening in men's brain. I really wanted to understand how are they thinking so I can hack into their system and make them love me. It's true. I mean, this was before I got in my healing journey. I understand that you cannot make anybody love you in that sense, but that was my intention for sure. Now I understand how to use this framework of the 3 stages of the masculine to recognize outside in the real world and in the online dating world, how if a man is a match to me energetically. Because the type of man that I'm looking, and I know for sure, if you are a single woman, a conscious woman on her way to a marriage or a family or something stable, you are looking for the type of man who can provide for you, who can protect you, who can feel in your heart your desires, who is reverencing the feminine inside of you, who is making you feel so yummy and self-assured, so confident, and who can also activate you sexually, who, lives in integrity with his purpose, with his heart, so on and so forth. The list is endless. But you know what I'm saying. You're looking for the type of man that we call nowadays a divine masculine or a conscious man. And with this framework, you can understand the men that are coming into your life, and you can choose whether you want to deal with them or not, because you feel exactly who they are inside, and you're not, let's say, distracted by the potential, because I'm going to speak about how dangerous it is to fall for the potential. I want to start with these layers of the masculine, and the third one being obviously the conscious embodied man. And that man, of course, is going to be a match to the third stage of the feminine, which is the woman who is open in devotion to love, who is healed within herself in most of her wounds of, relating with the world and with herself, with her body, and so on. And just as a disclaimer, we oscillate through these levels. Of course, we're not fully on the third stage all the time because we're human, but you want somebody who is around that stage, of course. And in this stage, what is the most important aspect and key to look for this type of men is their devotion. Because like a woman in the third stage, that man needs to be open in his heart, in devotion, and ready for the type of union that you desire. He needs to be profoundly connected with his source of power, and with God, so he can understand fully what is your role as a woman in the world and for him. Because most men, and especially men in the second stage, I'm going to speak about what dangerous zone is that. Most men that are on their way of building their empire, successful men, will see you as a distraction because they have not integrated their own wounds of immaturity, and because they have not integrated their understanding of what a woman actually brings in their life, which a woman who is empowered and integrated in her deep feminine will obviously add more to his life, will actually help him expand his business and his wealth, because they will co-create together such a powerful union that of course is going to reach all of the highest levels of abundance and miracles. And men who are usually on this path of sacred union will get to that point of understanding that they can actually build more with a woman that inspires them by their side than actually being alone and being the lone wolf. But this is mainly the problem of a second stage man. To get to that stage, instantly when I'm speaking about it, it's like I'm coming down from the heart and I'm just speaking from the mind, because this is the level of a second stage man. He's speaking more from the mind about events from the outside world, boring, uh, about things that are just happening around without any recollection of the heart. And these are the type of men that will appreciate you, but more like for your status and personality and who you appear to seem in the world. More like from an ego perspective, let's say, because they're also mostly living in their ego. And I want to give you a little disclaimer, because even men who claim to be spiritual can be stuck in this second stage, which they're actually operating from their spiritual ego and from their mind, not from their heart. Even men who have read David Deida, the book of my mentor, and claim to be into Tantra, are actually operating from a lower level of the heart. So they're not fully ready for that type of union. And here I want to give you an example of a guy that I met this summer. This summer was crazy. Not in that way. But it was so beautiful, because when I'm getting into this wisdom, or when I'm deepening into some sort of wisdom, life always gives me the examples of that wisdom. And with that guy, I was seeing him around at the gym, and I was looking at him. I was like, damn, you're literally my type. Like, you are so good looking. And he seemed like he had that confidence, that drive, that ambition. But I was wondering, are you open? Are you actually a third stage man? Are you actually open to love? And we started talking one time, and he read David Deida, and he was speaking about some biohacking stuff and all of that, things that inside of me are part of, let's say, my spectrum of values and are similar to my passions. And I left the sauna where we were speaking, but then he didn't say anything about meeting, or he didn't get my number, and that left me wondering a little bit. I was like, are you really a conscious man? Because most in my past experiences with open conscious men, they would immediately get my phone number and try to set something up with me, like a date. Because another little disclaimer, a man that is open for a conscious union, for a sacred union, he will instantly claim you, because he instantly feels that you are a woman that cannot be lost. Like, he will probably regret it by the end of his days if he will lose you. So he didn't say anything, and then a few days go by, and then I see him again, and I look at him from afar, and by the way that he was walking, I realized, you're a second stage man. I realized that he was actually acting from independence. And low-key, probably he thought women are a distraction to his purpose. And that is one other characteristics of this stage for both men and women, is that they are still stuck into this layer of independence when they think they can do it all by themselves and they don't need another person, and it doesn't need to come from ego's ambitions, but just like, oh no, I'm good, I can do it by myself. And okay, that's fine to be like that, but if you're really looking for somebody who is devoted to you and devoted to building a future with you, you don't want a man that is independent, and you don't want a woman that is independent, you know? You will want somebody who is open in devotion, which is actually, this is the work that I'm doing with a lot of the women in my mentorship program. I'm helping them uncover all of these layers of independence that they have been brought up to embody, because it's not like they chose it, but their parents literally, or society, told them constantly that if you are not independent, a man will lose you, a man will abandon you, and you will just be lost and by yourself for the rest of your life, or you will be, whatever sorts of beliefs people have implanted in you. And I'm helping them uncover these layers of independence from their heart and from their bodies, because it's also stuck in your nervous system, unable to fully give and receive love. And then we are helping you discover the seed of sacred union within. And I'm also doing the same for men. And so this is what I wanted to talk about, the second stage. I hope you maybe will recognize yourself, or maybe some past partners in this story. I want to go to the first stage, which is very, I guess sometimes it can be tricky. It depends. I will give you an example from my personal life. The first stage is the man who is just attracted to you based on lust and desire. So he will just look at your body and he will just want to have sex with you, and he will not even tap into his feelings, leave his feelings at the door, and that's it. And in the past, I would have fallen for that, definitely, because they're playing a little game with you in the beginning. They're trying to get you, and then they're gonna leave you because they just don't feel like it's worth their time. So obviously, stay clear of these men. But if there is a karmic connection that is coming into your life, it's very hard to actually stay away from this type of connection, because there is something inside of you that is being awakened when you are with this person. And that thing is polarity in sexual energy. You feel that on some level, he may take you deeper than you can take yourself into a state of bliss, whether that is through sex or not. And he may even have that ability. But that ability for a first stage man is not backed by the structure of the deep masculine, because he has not met his own wounds of immaturity. He's still playing out some characters and some personas that he thinks he is, but he's not. And then he doesn't have that ability to actually protect and provide for you what you need. So some of the things that he will do for you will actually be very disrespectful, even if he doesn't mean it, because he has not met himself and his own God presence to that deep level so he can understand how to use that powerful sexual chemistry with a higher purpose. That is actually what is happening on a third stage relationship. You understand how to build a foundation of safety and security. You bring the sexual chemistry, and then you can build so much from that. In my case, I had a connection that broke my heart a little bit because I didn't even know how to put this into words. In my heart, he was a third stage man because of how he looked at me and how he was devouring me, but with love from his eyes, and I felt like he was reverencing me with his presence. But on the outside, he was not embodying that. He couldn't give me what I want, not even just a tiny fraction of what I want. And this connection brought up so much for me. So many emotions, so much confusion, so many back and forth of like, what is this, and what am I supposed to learn from this, and what is this, what is the meaning of all of this, because I never experienced something like this. And mind you, we didn't even kiss or we didn't even consume the relationship in any way, but still it took a toll on me because of the emotional intensity that it had. Because on the inside, he was the type of man that I potentially wanted in my life, but on the outside, his actions were not matching to that. Because, like I mentioned, he was still playing some characters and personas that are not actually reflecting his divine essence. And even if he was super intuitive and, in tune with energies and potentially understanding of a higher reality and higher way of relating, as Tantra teaches, he was not acting according to that. And maybe in the future he will act according to that. But right now, it's not my time for me to teach him. And I know many of you will understand that you don't want to be the teachers of men. You want to have them already be prepared for you and be ready to give you that. And of course, there's learning in the process, and there's always things that maybe you can share and express and help him grow, and he can help you grow. But you want somebody who knows already how to swim. You don't want to teach him how to swim, if you know what I mean. That was an analogy actually received in a dream. And so that is my experience with the different types of men and these 3 stages of the masculine, a framework that should be used not strictly as a rule book, but as a guideline for you to understand how every man operates. And then when you put him all around these stages, when you can categorize him just a little bit and see where he's fluctuating around, because like I said, we're all fluctuating in these zones. Like I definitely fell into a first stage when I got activated with all of these triggers from this man, the last man that I talked about. But it's about how you can work together to the best of your abilities to create that deep union and intimacy and healthy relationship that you desire. And it will be easier for you to recognize a man also out into the real world. And when you're online dating, when you're speaking with a man, you will be more easily recognizing of him and of his seed of the sacred masculine if you know this framework. And if you start to work with this framework by yourself, and obviously if you also know the 3 levels of the feminine, which I did a podcast episode about on my Apple Podcasts, you can check that out. I think it's called Are You Embodying Your Deep Sacred Feminine? And it's easier for you to understand and choose a man that is better for you when you also know divinity inside of you, and when you know God inside of you, and when you know the divine masculine inside of you. So basically, when you rewire all of the wounds that made you choose men that are less than what you desire, you can then start to create more of the life and the love life of your dreams that you really, really crave. And I think I want to give a few tips for women who are already in a relationship, if you're by any chance listening to this, and if you feel like your man is not reflecting the stage, let's say, that you want him to, is definitely it's your responsibility to allow yourself to grow in your feminine, so you can understand how to express your feminine's desire, so he can rise up to that, so he can meet yourself up to that level. Because many men, they have inside of themselves this seed of the sacred masculine, that they can be the best partners that they can be, but it's about also allowing them to grow more and more and more into that. And that is where polarity teachings are coming in, and all of the work with sacred sensuality is coming online. So that is the advice that I would give to you. I feel like you should check out my other episode with my sister, because there we also talked more about men, love, relationships, dating, and it will be very insightful for you to learn more about our lessons, mine and my sister's lessons in love, and how you can learn from them so you can create better relationships for yourself. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to check out all of the other episodes. I have different episodes on Apple Podcast and different videos on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, and I would love to hear your feedback on both of these platforms. You can also message me directly on Instagram with the word Telegram to get into my free Telegram community of women that are receiving personal insights and juicy updates and exclusive practices that they can put into, they can integrate into their lives to enhance their life with Tantra. And of course, you can check out my one-on-one work. The Tantrika mentorship is open now for a few select leaders who are ready to deeply enhance their life, their sexuality, their love life, using the power of Tantra and using my personalized guidance. And you will see all of the details to all of this in the description below. And I will see you in my next episode.